News Capitol Hill correspondent and the new host of Way Too Early.
It's all very exciting.
Ali Vitale.
So Ali, let's start with you on the Hill. We've been hearing through our sources over the past week or so that there are up to 6 Republican senators who are no votes on Hegseth. And John, I think your reporting matches the same, right?
Yes.
Right now, they are just waiting for Hegseth, in the words of REM, to feel gravity's pull, much in the same way. You like that?
Oh,
much
great.
in the same way that Gates did. And you listen to Joni Ernst, again, I find it impossible, hard to believe she would ever support him given everything in his background. But yesterday she said, had a good meeting, we respect the process, we'll play this out until the end. What's your read with Joni Ernst and also those Republicans that are still hard-nosed but aren't saying anything?
So there are the Republicans that are hard-nosed that you guys are referring to, and you're right that the unofficial whip count stands at about 6. But there are plenty of Republicans, including in the president-elect's orbit, who are hoping that it's not the gravity you're talking about, but instead the gravity we talk about in Wicked, where he'll be defying gravity. And I'm sorry for the pun, but we've got a lot of time still to go on this kind of a confirmation battle. It's early in the process, and I think that's either going to work in Hegseth's favor because he'll be able to continue to have these kinds of meetings that go from productive and frank, is how I think Ernst was initially describing the tone of their conversations last week, to now she's supporting him through the process. And Lemire and I were talking about this on Way Too Early. The idea that she's had a clear tone shift is notable. The way that she's talking about in that last answer, how she didn't say anything about Hegseth committing to keep women in their current roles in the military, specifically that reporter trying to get at the idea of combat. Instead, Joni Ernst just said he's very supportive of women in the military. She said it's one thing we talked about. Clearly, he was not always in that stance. I mean, I don't think we should let anyone rewrite history, but it does give us a good sense of the way that Hegseth is trying to at least soften the image that he came into Capitol Hill with. And as much as I think we're seeing Ernst say she's supportive of the process, that's not saying I'm supportive of the man, at least not yet. It's saying I'll let him continue doing these meetings. I'm not going to be the next person, or at least the first person, to publicly tank the nomination. And I think that's important, just giving him the space, and they'll see where it ends up. But that confirmation hearing is going to be bruising and brutal.
You know, one of the complaints we had, John, of our leadership when we were in Congress is they never saw around the curve, right? They were just fighting to win the day. I'm talking about back when I was in Congress, fighting to win the day, fighting to win the news cycle, and not looking at the bigger picture here. All right, so maybe Pete Hegseth, maybe he wins a news cycle here, maybe he wins a news cycle there. But you go to the end of this process, they don't want Senate hearings, because if they get Senate hearings with Pete Hegseth, they're going to see testimony, certainly reports, NBC News reports from Fox News employees of public drunkenness recently at Fox News. They're going to see reports of alcohol abuse when he was running 2 vets organizations, and some pretty tawdry behavior while he was running those organizations that have all been outlined in whistleblower reports. They're going to see in black and white, they're going to see financial mismanagement of vets organizations that were very strong when he started there, that ended up basically on the verge of bankruptcy and irrelevance through his stewardship of smaller vets organizations, let alone the DOD. And yes, they're going to see testimony just like we would have seen with Gates. It may not have been the 17-year-old girl for Gates, but it may have been the other women around that with Gates. Yep. But here we have the alleged rape. We have the police report. We have somebody who leaked that to the New York Times, and members of this woman's family, if she doesn't testify, other people testifying about what Pete Hegseth has done in the past.
The email from his mom.
And the email, of course, from his mom, which actually lines up neatly with everything we've heard before and after about Pete Hegseth. This is, again, I will just say it as I said with Gates. This is one of those old Midas commercials. You can pay me now, or you can pay me later.
Yeah.
And it is not in Donald Trump or the new administration's best interest that this is splayed all over the front pages of newspapers for a week or so while he's trying to get momentum for whatever policies he wants to push. Again, maybe they want to put up a good fight, but at the end of the day, this is just bad news for the DOD. It's bad news for America and the world. It's even bad news for the incoming president.
Well, I think that's definitely a